when you do something live, dogs barking and stuff.
Okay, it looks yeah. Okay, now we're live. Okay,
Okay.
so we had a little issue getting live, but what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Intellectual. My name is Angie Card, and today we're talking about a topic that some people may have thought about, maybe not. I know I found myself wondering about different athletes that compete on the national stage and what happens to them after the competition is over. What is life like during the time that they're competing? And to help me out with this conversation, I have one of my LinkedIn connections who also competed in the Special Olympics, Ashton Smith. And welcome, Ashton. Welcome, Ashton.
Welcome.
Why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself in terms of how you got started in the Special Olympics, and then we're more so going to center our conversation on Ashton's experience as an athlete competing in an event like that, but also what Ashton's life has after she's competed in the Special Olympics. So, welcome, Ashton. First off, I want
Welcome.
to ask you, um, how old were you when you first started participating in the Special Olympics, and when did you start competing at the state and national level?
Um, I started competing in Special Olympics since the '90s.
Okay.
So, um, since I was, since I was probably 6 years old, I've been a part of Special Olympics as far as I can remember. Any further back than that, I don't remember because I was a kid. I can't remember all that. But the '90s, we'll say, and I did field day and things like that. We didn't have swimming back then because of liability. They just didn't have it in where I was at in my neighborhood. Uh, and then from there, it kind of progressed from elementary school uh, and things like that. I did some stuff with Special Olympics in high school. I grew up in a small town in Ellis County, Waxahachie. Where'd you grow up? I grew up in Waxahachie and went to school there. And that whole experience too, being disabled and all of those things, it's a lot of trials and things going through that. Even when I was a child competing in what they call field day back then in the '90s, and having to overcome that disability or being visually impaired, that was very difficult for me. But I continue to try to overcome that to this day.
Okay, really awesome. So, about how old were you, or at what point in your life did you actually start competing nationally or statewide?
I've been in Special Olympics that long, and believe it or not, I'm 35 years old, and I'm just now getting picked. Unreal. In all seriousness, that is unreal because I put in a lot of work, 8 hours a day to 6 hours a day swimming, lifting weights. Um, a lot of athletes in Special Olympics, only people that really could compete against me in running or track and field were men. Or in swimming, it was a girl who was, uh, over 10 years younger than me. I mean, of course, if you're 10 years younger than me, of course you're going to be able to beat me. You're 10 years younger than me. You haven't went through life yet and you haven't had children. So at the end of the day, when you compete at that level, I got picked, man. In 2018-19, I competed in Seattle, Washington. Um, and I did that and I worked hard, man. I took it very seriously and other people didn't, didn't
Okay.
take it as seriously. So I took it very
So,
seriously in Seattle. Yes.
okay, so let me ask you a question. So, you said the first time that you competed was in 2017 in Seattle, Washington. And tell me about that excitement. Like you said, that it sounded like you were very committed. And it sounded like it was an opportunity that you hadn't had yet.
Never. I had had that kind of opportunity and I wanted it bad because of my age. I mean, I'm 30 years old.
Sure.
So I took the opportunity because I'm older. I don't, I mean, and I have to know that I have to live my life eventually. There is nobody to take care of me. I think about those things. You
Okay.
see,
So when you were competing in the Special Olympics, you mentioned that a relative got you interested, and one of our chats is saying, "Wow, that's amazing that only the guys could compete with you in certain events in the Special Olympics. That's amazing. So that definitely speaks to your versatility. But let's go back into the Special Olympics a little bit. So who got you in start Special Olympics and
my
actually
grandmother.
your grandmother? Okay, and did your grandmother support most of your Special Olympics participation throughout your life?
Yeah, without her permission, I wouldn't have been able to do anything. That includes even outside of Special Olympics. I wouldn't be. So my grandmother was integral in that, and my grandmother trusted Special Olympics and things. As she got older, things were different and things. My grandmother died from Alzheimer's. It's very serious. And other than that, my grandmother was actually physically healthy, but
Okay.
she was very healthy, and she's the one who raised me, and things like that. So without her permission, I wouldn't have been able to do anything. No
Okay, so
doubt.
your grandmother got you into Special Olympics and she supported your career, it sounds like. So you were definitely blessed in that respect
Up
to
until
have a
she
grandmother.
died, she supported me up until she died. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and tell me about that. When she passed away, were you in competition? Were you competing?
I was still in Special Olympics. Her story and my story got featured on NBC 5 News, Dallas Fort Worth. People can look that up. I was homeless, going from place to place to place. They said that on the news. Special Olympics never helped me financially during that time. You don't get help, sponsorships, nothing. You are literally left to your own demise and literally left bankrupt. And that's kind of what happened to me after my grandmother died.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit because a lot of people don't realize that when you see athletes on the national stage, when you see athletes on the news, and they're being they're being highlighted for winning
Promoted.
different medals. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't understand what those athletes are going through even beyond the competition. So let's talk about your experience competing in the Special Olympics in terms
Yeah.
of trying to fund your passion, because the conversations that we've had, it sounded like you're very passionate about participating in the Special Olympics, but it seems like your resources were very limited, even with your grandmother being alive, and then when she passed away it seemed like it was much more difficult. How did you get through that?
Um, let's see how I can say this in a politically correct way. We're in Texas. We're gonna do it this way. Uh, I think financially, when you struggle the way that I do, when you live on a fixed income and you're built like a truck, there is no excuse for that. I'm built like a dude. I shouldn't struggle. Uh, when a fixed income limits you, you become a slave to the debts. You become bankrupt literally to a point where you might have to go to bankruptcy court, which I'm going to look at doing to save my life, literally save my life. So I'm not like this up underwater. If anybody swims and you're like this and water's up to your face, can you breathe? No. So that's how.
Well, let me stop you there. In terms of your experience though with the Special Olympics and just going through that, because I think the biggest purpose of this conversation is to discuss
Right.
how athletes deal with competition and limited funding during competitions. So you mentioned that you were competing with very limited funds.
Right. Very.
Talk about that experience, and
Let's do that.
you had to do to raise funds just to compete.
I had to beg people for money. I had a GoFundMe. You can still look that up to this day. God knows I'm not lying. I had to create a GoFundMe. Well, Special Olympics didn't want me to do that. They wanted the money to go into their accounts. And Special Olympics is always insolvent. People can look it up. They're insolvent. Type in Special Olympics insolvency. All I know is that my financial situation is very difficult. I shouldn't have to stand on the side of roads and beg the public for money, because that's depressing. I shouldn't have to take my fixed income and pay for food, hotels, things like that, or money that I received, like settlement checks, anything like that. I've had to take money of that I get and prop up Special Olympics, buy $500 swimsuits, pay for hotels and food and transportation across one of the largest geographical states in the country called Texas, next to Alaska's bigger geographically. Texas is bigger population wise. Y'all get it. It's massive out here. And if you
So let
don't
me ask
have
you
a car,
something.
you said what?
Let me
Yes.
ask you, do you feel like when you started participating in the Special Olympics that they were not transparent with you about what the financial cost would be to you for participating?
I think a lot of that stuff, they were not transparent up front about those costs. It only came to being transparent when it came to raising the money. We would get a fundraising kit, is what they would call it, and make us stand out here and raise money. Or the parents or the school districts, anybody got children in school that participate in Special Olympics, take them out of it, because they
Okay.
use the school districts to raise money. I'm telling y'all the truth. They use school districts, they get money from the NFL and other things, and they're not honest about cost in all perspectives, especially to the athlete. They don't really tell us until it is time to raise the money. You would think that you would tell us all upfront costs um, related to the program, and we don't get that. The only way we get costs is a week before competition. Oh, you need $35 or you need this or that. They send you a little, the coach will pass out letters in practice. It's old timey. And that's how you know, like, we get letters passed out to us.
So you're saying that when you were competing in the Special Olympics, that they did not give you upfront costs and what it would require for you to participate in the Special Olympics, correct?
They never gave upfront cost. In fact, on their website, it says that athletes do not pay. It also says that money in expenditures, meaning money, is raised and goes to the athlete. This is what it says on their website. So I'm saying this politically correct. So Special Olympics, and I'm doing it in this format so that Special Olympics cannot say you're lying. Anybody can go on Google and Google Ashton Smith Special Olympics. There's all kinds of stuff about their organization, including lawsuits and other things, legally in writing about their program.
So do you feel so I guess where I find the disconnect sometimes with these conversations is that with the Special Olympics, and I can only speak for, just a side experience. It's not the Special Olympics, but my nieces in cheer, and they compete at national level, and they are responsible for raising money for their competitions. They're responsible for fundraising for their national competitions, and a lot of the expenditure is on the respective cheer team.
But they're upfront though about those costs. They don't tell y'all a week before a competition, hey, you got to come up with. They don't do that. That's what Special Olympics does. Like, for example, when I was at track practice, the coach told us in a letter, passed out letters at practice telling us you need this much money, but we have like 2 weeks before a competition. That's what I mean when I say they weren't upfront about.
So you felt like as an athlete, the Special Olympics did not support you, and then you participated under the stress of not having the financial funding. Here's the thing. Now you made it to state, you made it to national. I'm looking at your medals behind you. How did you fund some of those events? You mentioned that you sold some of your medals.
Yep, I sold. I've even sold medals during the pandemic so I could eat. I kept these. These are my national medals I won in Seattle, and then the ones over here behind this card are the World Game medals. Those are the ones I won in World Games in Seattle, and I kept those. But my state games medals and a lot of memorabilia I sold so I could pay my bills and eat. I gotta eat.
Okay, so your relationship with the Special Olympics ended 2019?
September 18th, 2019. I was told to not come back by the CEO. He used another word, but he told me racially not to come back. We'll say it in political terms because uh, at the end of the day, I told him at the end of the day, it didn't matter to me because God has a plan for my life. And can't nobody, I don't know, people on here believe in God. If you do, great. But at the end of the day, God has a plan for my life. And can't no man on this earth stop that plan. And Special Olympics, I don't have to do nothing because they're going to be in trouble. They're being looked at and things like that as we
Right, and
speak.
and I'll be honest with you. I don't I don't know much about the allegations that you presented to the Special Olympics, and obviously this is your point of view. So I don't want to say anything against an organization that I
And we
don't know
shouldn't. You can Google it under, and this is stuff I'm talking about, stuff you can actually look up. I'm not making up stuff. I'm actually,
No, I'm not saying you
yeah.
are. Question: did you happen to go to Brazil in 2016 to compete in the Special Olympics?
I went to Dubai and competed in 2019. I
In
competed I was in Dubai
2019.
World.
Now, how did you fund the Dubai Games? Now, you mentioned that your grandmother had passed away during that time, right? And you mentioned that Special Olympics were not trying to help you with any
Nope,
type of funding. So you were
nope.
actually at that point a gold medalist or silver medalist for the Special
I
Olympics.
won gold for them at nationals, and they did nothing to help me.
So they did nothing to help you to get to
Nope.
Dubai, even though you won gold at the national championship.
It was over $5,000 to go. I had to ask these other people that will not be mentioned, but I had to ask them for some money, and I had to ask the public for money, for spending money. The money
So
they
you
gave
had
me
to,
was,
so you had to fundraise. You had to
I
fundraise.
literally had to beg people. Yes, I had to
Okay.
fundraise and put the money into Special Olympics bank account, not mine, theirs, and that's not fair.
Now explain that. So the athletes have to raise their own money to participate. And even the money that they raise in the Special Olympics, what you're saying is that that money does not go towards you exclusively, does not go towards your expenses. You have to put it in the Special Olympics pot,
Yep.
in order. Wow. Hello, everyone who just joined. If you're just
Right.
joining, we are. I'm talking to Ashton Smith. She competed in the Special Olympics. She's one of their visually impaired. She's one of their visually impaired
Right.
athletes. She obviously has a very negative experience with the Special Olympics, but her story for me, really put a lot of things in retrospect in terms of athletes and what they go through, when
Right.
they're on the national stage and everyone think that they made it or they did something, that they're in this spot in their life when these people are struggling every step of the way. And, I'm not sure if any of you have thought about it, but I've often wondered what happened to that Olympic person or what happened to that person because these people be real hot for like a whole, Olympic season, and then next thing you know, you don't hear anything about them. And hey, Marshall, all of our Olympians deserve to get paid for representing our country. And here's the thing with the Special Olympics, I definitely agree that athletes should get paid, and I think that's what they're doing with that college basketball thing too right now.
Mhm.
These kids are tired of working for free essentially. But I
Yeah.
think where I challenge where the with the Special Olympics too, um, is this is a at the end of the day it's about voluntary participation. So you have somebody who's really capitalizing on your passion to be a part of something and to
Right.
compete in something, and but at the same time you're not really getting much benefit out of it
Right.
monetarily.
Nope.
And so do
They
you
make
would you
six
say that
figures. They make six figures. Anybody can Google their CEOs and stuff like that. Start Googling them.
so
Start
do you
Googling
feel
the
the
CEO.
Special Olympics takes advantage of the athletes that participate?
Yep, they do. Take advantage of us. None of us get paid. I've even spoken at events for Special Olympics, like public speaking. That's what I want my career to be. I want to public speak and tell my story. And Special Olympics use my story to make money for them.
And they did not pay you anything.
Didn't pay me nothing. And I've seen public speakers get paid $10,000, $20,000 or greater, but they can raise $200,000 in 1 month while I sit here in poverty. They try to use me in the pandemic in 2020 on Twitter, which I called their organization and told them to take it down. I was legally not even in their organization in 2020, and they still used my image in a pandemic while I was sitting here with no food to eat. I'm not eating like them. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you, life after, for you, because obviously with every athlete it's different. You don't have a family network. You're the only family really that you had that took care of you, your mother and your sister, they both passed away.
No, my mom is living, my sister's living, my brother's living, but everybody's pretty much doing their own thing. They got children of their own, and that's just what that is. My family shouldn't have to take care of me at the age of 35. Who am I kidding? I'm 35.
I admire your personally. I admire your fire to be independent, living in a world where you're visually impaired. And this is where I tell people all the time. It's like, people may think it's inconsiderate when you say there's always somebody that has it worse than you. But, I don't think that's an inconsiderate statement to rational people, because when you can step back and think about some of the experiences that people are organically going through
like
on this
me,
earth, you can rationalize like real quickly, like, you know what? You're right. There are people like I have my vision. I'm not visually impaired. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I have a network of family, there's, to look out for me or help me out if I jam.
Have that.
People don't realize that people are, how blessed they are to have those things. So let's talk about life after the Special Olympics, right? So now the passion for the Special Olympics is over, right? And now you're trying to get to the next step in your life. And I want to say another inspiring thing about your story. There are a lot of African Americans that don't know how to swim. Your last medal, swimming, right? And that is so inspiring to young Black girls to have you as to me, an example of somebody who did something, that other people obviously of our group is not doing. So I commend you 100% on being an example
and doing the right thing.
Black swimmers. So what's next for you though? Like, so you mentioned public speaking, right?
Right.
And you mentioned that you had a book. Tell us about your book.
This is my book, Swimming Upstream to Realize the Dream. This is on Amazon. This is what the cover looks like of the book. This is the back of that book. Really nice, kind of a glossy finish on the cover. It's a soft, kind of bendable book, so that's good. Paperback book. And Swimming Upstream to Realize the Dream. That'll be a part of my speaking career. And I hope to still swim eventually with, if we can get the pandemic out of the way. Praise you, Jesus. Right. We're praying over here, knocking on wood. Because the biggest thing is I'll be able to do master swimming and swim and do master swimming, even if I'm no longer in Special Olympics. So it'll open the door for me to be able to swim. And that's my hope after Special Olympics, is to continue to move forward and do everything I need to do in my life to make it, including promoting this book, Swimming Upstream to Realize the Dream. Could not do this in Special Olympics. You're not allowed to have books. You're not allowed to have LLCs. My next hope is to have an LLC, right? That is my hope. Why? Because most people in America, they become rich by how? Not their mama taking care of them, not the government taking care of you, not your boyfriend taking care of you, not somebody. Nope. You become rich by having an LLC and having a business. Why? You can't write your taxes off on your boyfriend, can't write taxes off on your mama, but you can write taxes off on a business. Ding, ding, ding. That's what a white man told me.
I mean, that's a true story. That's a true story.
So, right. Better ask somebody. That's why you don't want nobody taking care of you. You don't want your mama taking care of you. You don't want your boyfriend or daddy taking care of you. When you get married, Nope. What's mine is mine. Sorry, Buster, because you end up broke. You ain't finna take my LLC. Bye bye. So when you learn that, then you don't get taken advantage of because you ain't signing nothing with nobody. Goodbye. That is already in the business. This business shall not what? Go over to anybody, married or not. There you go. So then that keeps you legally bound to
Uh,
your LLC. Amen. That's my hope is to get my LLC going for public speaking. That's
well,
10,
I wish
20 grand.
you. You know, I do. I wish you the very, 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 very best in your endeavors. I'm
Right.
glad that you are a man of faith because, you know, I tell people all the time, you can't just pray to God. You cannot just pray to God. God help those who help themselves. And we help
I'm
ourselves by leveraging the resources that we have in order to make things happen for ourselves. And we do that by networking too. Most successful business owners networked with somebody to help them realize their dreams. So, Ashton, thank you so much. I'm about to
no
open it
doubt.
up and see if anybody may have any questions for you. How come Oscar
Sure.
Pistorius? So we got a couple of questions.
Good.
Um, one question is, how come Oscar Pistorius made millions?
Okay. Is that a writer? A business?
Uh,
What is it?
so Oscar Pistorius was a Special Olympics. Um, what did he do? He competed. He was an athlete who unfortunately got convicted of murder. But he was a Special Olympic. He competed in the Special Olympics, and I guess to your experience, and your experience is your experience, but there
Is he
have
in
been some
Texas? Because
notable.
Texas is different. He might not be in Texas. Each state is separately ran. Like in California, you can make money. In Texas, if the CEO tells you can't get paid, it doesn't matter what the rules say. That white man did not like me, and he told me I was not allowed to use their logos to make money, and I wasn't, and I don't
Well,
want to do it.
but that makes sense, because that's not your branding. That's the
But
special
they're
Olympics
using
brand.
me, but they're using my face, and I'm not getting paid. Oh hell no, my
But
face belongs
but
to me.
but you signed off on that, did you? Like when
No,
you
I was
when
told.
you signed
No,
on
I
to.
was. No, I was told to. No, I was told to sign that, or else I didn't go. That's called coercion. You got to read the laws. That's called coercion. You can't tell people and hold things over their head. You can't do that. You can't do that stuff. I can't do that to you. I can't hold a contract over your head saying, "Hey, by the way, if you don't sign this," and here I am, 30 years old. I'm in my 30s, guys. I don't have another chance. I'm 30 years old, so I'm thinking of the bigger picture. There is no world games for me. I'm 35 years old. All these other people get a second and third chance. I don't get that because of my age. Physically, it's hard to get up 6 hours a day and swim. And so no, that's called coercion. Anybody can look that up. You can't do that. You can't tell people and come to their house at 8 o'clock at night and things like that. You can't do that. You can't. They can't even be talking to me outside of business hours, and those things are wrong. I can't show up to their place of business or restaurant or where they work at or live and do that. That's called invasion of privacy. That's against the law. So I
Okay,
can't. I
okay,
follow. Yeah,
so I mean,
yeah,
I cannot comment on those experiences, but what I will
right.
say, is that the Special Olympics is a voluntary participation
Well,
nonprofit organization. That means that no one can force you to participate
they
in
tell you
anything.
that. They may tell you that, just like they tell you that they pay for your injuries when you're hurt. They didn't pay for my injuries, and I suffered a concussion in their organization, and I suffered a shoulder injury. They say everything in writing. They'll tell you, Joe, the public, whatever they want you to know in writing. I'm the one who's been to those meetings for 30 years. I'm the one who went and know and things like that as an adult. I've been going to their meetings since 2004, right? It's a long time. And at the end of the day, they tell you, the public, whatever they want you to know. It's called PR. They put they have a whole PR team that puts stuff together, and they only put it together with the good stuff and what they want you to know. And that's the facts. At the end of the day, I know that for me, moving forward in my life, I wasn't allowed to be a public or motivational speaker. I was not allowed to work in the entertainment industry or seek third party funding.
But that was only as a participant, as an active participant of Special Olympics, because I can't imagine that a nonprofit organization in which you have volunteered to participate in, in their games would put that kind of pressure for 20 years.
Then I don't know what to tell you. I live in Texas. You don't live here. That's just what it is. That is what it is. You cannot use their program for any financial gain. They don't third party. I've never asked Special Olympics to pay me. What I've asked them to do was allow me to get sponsorships. If Weeds wants to sponsor me, I'm not asking Special Olympics to come out of their pocket and pay me. What I asked was what the law allows in my state. What the law allows in the state of Texas, and federally, it allows you to make money off of your image and likeness as long as you are not in high school. Look that up, because UIL rules state this, that you cannot make money while being a participant in the UIL competition. That is what it is for high school. But once you graduate, the law takes over. So I base my life based on what the law says, not what something says, not what they say on the internet. What does the black and white law say? And as long as I'm following the laws of this country and what the laws say in the state of Texas, then Special Olympics cannot do this to me. Does that make sense?
No, I'll be honest with you. I am not clear as to the stipulations or even kind of what you're talking about right now.
I came prepared. I studied.
Yeah, like I said, I wish you all the best. Your experience, definitely your experience, and nobody can tell you about your experience, but but yourself. But I wish.
And I'm not speaking for every state, and I can say this too. My experience is not someone else's, and I always say that this disclaimer. Every state is ran differently. I am not speaking for an affiliate, a sponsor, blah blah blah. You know what they say on infomercials. The information that is disseminated is my opinion and no one else's opinion. So I get that. And everyone has a different viable experience in Special Olympics. I am not speaking for all 50 states or territories. I'm only speaking for Ashton Smith's experience and no one else's, because I don't walk in anyone else's shoes. That's a really good disclaimer.
Okay. Well, I wish you all the best on your book, and I do wish you the best. So the chapter with the Special Olympics is closed, and your next chapter is focusing on promoting your book, and you're also trying to get a public speaking opportunity. Now, what is your motivation with public speaking? What do you hope to accomplish?
My to accomplish with that is just to inspire people, to tell people that they can do anything like write a book. I was told, in all seriousness, that someone actually told me I would never have a book because I'm visually impaired and that no one would do anything to help me with that. I didn't listen to them. If I would have listened to them, good luck with that. I wouldn't have a book today. My story is just about overcoming things like homelessness, overcoming the fact that people tell you can't do something. And I've been told all my life that I shouldn't do something, or I shouldn't play football because it's too dangerous. And I did. Or I shouldn't move furniture because for whatever reason, but I'm strong enough to lift it. I'm like, if I'm physically able, I'm going to do it. God says that this maybe applies to men, but if you don't work, you don't eat. This applies to men in general. I think the verse was supposed to be for a male, but because I'm a female, I believe that if you're physically, you got your arms and your legs and you can move, then you can go out here and work like a dude. Go work at an oil refinery. There's too many jobs out here to not have. But the problem is, I think a lot of times we can't give up. And no matter what the situation is, pandemic, whatever the case may be, I just keep, trucking through like the great open countries of Texas, great old open land, the countrysides of Texas is what I mean. And that's what life has to be. Life has to be wide open, and you can't, God never said that he made this life perfect. God never made life perfect, only once, and that was one time when Adam and Eve was created. After that, when she talked to a snake or ate an apple, life got messed up for everybody. And so at the end of the day, I try to tell people that there's always something within us, within everybody, to dig down deep and say that I can do it. And I can not listen to people that want to harm me. I do not have to hang around people, amen, who do not have my best interest. And the best way, amen, is to overcome all of those things. Amen.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Now, we did have one more question for you before we
Sure.
take off. And and Tiff wanted to know if schools for special needs have she believes that they should reach out to you, but have you coordinated with any schools uh, for special needs, or have done any type of inspirational speaking there in those type of schools?
A lot of that was shut down. Well, they weren't letting the public in because of COVID and stuff. But my hope is to work with Lighthouse for the Blind. The Beautiful Lives Project is a great organization. They really help people with special needs play sports, and they do pay for stuff. No athlete has to pay for anything. It's called the Beautiful Lives Project. Any of y'all can go online and look it up. Anybody can go online and excuse me, Google my story, Google me, Ashton Smith Special Olympics. You'll see all kinds of articles also about me, and go on Amazon and check out my book, Swimming Upstream to Realize the Dream, is also sold at Walmart.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ashton, for your time. I mean, I really,
Thank
really,
you.
I mean, you got some great encouragement coming in through the chats. We got someone saying, Tiff said you should really try to coach kid athletes and
Okay.
really try to extend yourself into the community and help other
Okay.
people. And I mean, because you are an inspiration to so many people, and you should definitely keep going. And you definitely inspired me to
I hope
definitely
so.
over. I mean, you inspire me because, like I said, I opened this up saying that there's
Okay.
always somebody who has it worse than you, and a
Amen.
lot of people want to take that type of statement and they want
Right.
to run with it and be offended, like you're trying to take away from their depression. But really, rational people can look back and say, you know what, I am going through this situation right now, but when I think about what some other people are going through in a day, the
Right.
limitations that some people have, the things that hold people back that have nothing to do with some of this sensational rhetoric that we hear today. You know what I mean?
Right.
It is very, very inspiring, organically inspiring. So I wish you the best. I pray
You
for
too, and
you.
let's pray. Let's pray to God. And I say this: any of the stuff that you rhetoric and stuff on TV, stuff and people telling you can't do something, uh, there, depending on where you live at, some of that stuff may be hard, may be true. Depends on where you live in the country, and some of it may not be. Depends on what state you live in and all that. Because in Texas, it's a lot going on out here where I live, and it's politically doesn't make sense. But I also believe when it comes to many things right now, vaccines, people should have a choice. You should be able to kind of pick and choose. If you want a vaccine, great, hooray. If you don't,
Right,
okay, right.
right. So I don't want to get into the vaccination
I'm
world,
sorry,
but
but I was just
I
saying
am
as an
going
example,
to
that's a choice.
thank
Yeah.
you so much for your time. And we got your book information. You can find
Right.
Ashton's book on Amazon. And Ashton, you have a wonderful day.
Hey, you too, man. If you wanted me to pray, I can.
Nope, 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 nope. We're signing off.
All right, well, we'll get off of
We're
here. All
getting
right, y'all take
segment.
care and be safe.
All right, you have a wonderful day.
All
All
right,
right,
you too, man.
take care. Okay. So Ashton, I wanted to just kind of give a little background. Ashton, I met her on LinkedIn, and she shared a story with me. And I don't know too much about the Special Olympics, but she definitely had she had some views that she wanted to share about her experience. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting in that conversation that we had was that she participating in the Special Olympic was a joy, but it also played with her mental health. And the aspect of that, from our conversations, was that she didn't have the funding and the support. So, when you look at these mainstream athletes today, and some of them, they're heavily funded, they're heavily sponsored, they don't have nearly the challenges as Ashton Smith has. You got to wonder sometimes, about the mental health argument, and what are the other layers of what these athletes are going through that will cause them to, have these breaks during competition. And I can definitely see, trying to struggle for funding each and every time you win a prize, you get to the next level. But it's not that you don't know how to get to the next level competition wise. You don't know how to get to the next level because your passion, is something that your family and your community, is constantly trying to scrape up to help fund. So a lot of these athletes are going through the motions when they are trying to compete in some of these competitions. I remember Hillary Swank said when she, I think it was the Boys on the Inside or something like that, the Boys Outside, where she won an Oscar, and she said people didn't know that she was broke, and she was sitting, on stage. She was standing on an Academy Award, and this woman was absolutely broke, living out of her car. So sometimes we may see people on the TV and think that they're just doing so great and that they're doing so well for themselves, and we'll see them on different news outlets and getting all the hype. But a lot of these people are going through things that we can't even fathom. No problem, Marshall. I wanted to help Ashton highlight her story. Not just from a Special Olympics, because I think the experience is organically hers, and really speak to some of those allegations that she mentioned. And I can't really kind of go too deeply into them, because I mean some of them may have legal implications, and I don't want my platform to have to deal with anything like that. But in terms of what athletes go through, I think that her story was very interesting, because she's visually impaired, and her only network and support that got her into the Special Olympics, her grandmother passed away. And it's like, what do you do after that? So, I want to thank Ashton again for joining me. I want to get on to something else really quick. I don't want to even talk about vaccines, you guys. Like, that's why I have to cut it off. Because I'm telling you, they have been shadow banning me like crazy over the V word, the J word, for real. But I do want to talk about the fact that the mandates are causing a number of employee groups to file class action lawsuits against their respective employers. And we're going to probably see this across the nation. And what I'm interested in is how the Marxist indoctrinated legal system handles these cases. And then, I guess it's just an ethical question, right? Is it ethical for employers to be able to terminate employees because they don't make a medical decision? And a lot of people make the argument, well, kids are required to have vaccinations when they go to school. So why would we feel some kind of way about employers mandating the COVID vaccination? And, here's my disposition on the COVID vaccine. There's been way too much information that has been coming out sideways about it, really for me to really bite the bait. I really need to see at least a couple of more years of study, before I can even just buy into that being the new flu vaccine personally. And everybody make your own decisions about that. But I think it's very interesting that these employers are pushing down the mandates. And I'm telling people, a lot of people, they have like their mixed reviews. Like some people are like, well, just quit your job and say that you were, you just did it because you're under stress, so that you can, collect unemployment that way. Because apparently, if you don't get vaccinated and you are fired from your job, they're basically firing you on the grounds of going against company policy, and you cannot collect unemployment. And people need to start thinking about that, obviously, because you got to have a plan B. I mean, everybody should be thinking about a plan B in this buying and selling market, because I feel like, a lot of these mandates, a lot of these drastic things that are happening in society, this stuff is happening so fast and so overnight. People just need to be able to know how to hedge and protect themselves against what may be. So if you feel like your employer may be pushing down a mandate sometime soon, now would be a good time for you to be looking at other companies and seeing who's not mandating the vaccine. Because it's going to boil down to, are we going to lose our best workers because we want to force them to get inoculated constantly with a virus that has clearly shown itself not to devastate as much as the population as they first said it would devastate the population. And most people get over it naturally. And people have been getting over it naturally even before the vaccines were approved for emergency usage. I know I did. So, anyways, you guys be safe. I hope that Ashton's story inspired you. I want to, I don't highlight people all the time, but I just thought that, she's an individual that I feel like people really should, get to know. And, if you know of any programs or any organizations that you feel like would benefit from her speaking or inspiring, definitely Ashton Smith, reach out to her. She's on LinkedIn. I don't think we were able to get her plug in, but she's on LinkedIn. So definitely reach out to Ashton, get to know her, and see if there's any opportunities that you can link her with, that may help her in her career path. So you all have a wonderful day. Bye. Oh, I'm just a little bit over 45. Tiff, thank you so much. Thank you so much for participating and answering questions. Quasi Marshall. I think my friend Jay was on earlier, but thank you guys for participating and learning. And if you are on LinkedIn, don't forget to connect with me, Angie C, and don't forget to connect with Ashton as well. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye.